All set, Linda? City Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public meeting on March 12, 2007, 6:30 p.m. concerning the following petitions, which the first one we have is new business, 790 Chelmsford Street, and the name is, the applicant is Viewpoint Sign for Northeast Endoscopy for an internally illumination of an existing wall entrance sign for Northeast Endoscopy. Are they here tonight? You want to step up to the podium and state your name and address and tell us what you'd like to do?
Yes, I am Scott Spalding with Viewpoint Sign and Awning of 40 Lock Drive, Marlborough, Mass. Existing, we have permitted and we're granted a permit to put up a wall sign. What we'd like to do is to backlight the sign. They have a need for early morning and late evening of patients coming in and it's dark there, and they'd like to illuminate the sign so they could find the entrance. It's halo lit illumination where only the edge of the sign lights. So the actual face of the letter doesn't light. It's just kind of a halo lit, backlit illumination.
All right, let's find out if anybody has any concerns. Anybody like to speak in favor for this petition? In favor? Anybody in favor?
I'm from Northeast Endoscopy.
Oh, you want to speak? You want to? No?
I think Scott said it.
Okay. Anybody like to speak in opposition? In opposition? Okay, hearing none. Is this sign going to be, what's the hours of operation for the sign or the business?
It would be early morning.
6:30 a.m. At the earliest till 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening.
Okay.
It's in the back area of the building. There's just trees around us. So there's no neighbors, if you will.
Yeah.
The sign will bother.
Okay. Very good. Let's open up the board, see if they have any questions. Go ahead, Vince.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The hour of operation and the time it closes, I don't see a problem here, nor do I see that any opposition to this. Plus that this petition getting approval from, support from the DPD, the design plan, Diane Tratt, I saw the memo from her, so I'm in support of this as well. Thank you.
Okay. Corey?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I concur with the Vice Chairman. I'm content with the hours of operation in this. There is no residential in the area to speak of that this would even be visible to, so I have no problem with it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else like to speak? Okay, so what do we have set for hours of operation, operation of the signage? Is it 5:30 to 6 o'clock at night?
I would say the earliest it would be is 6
Okay.
in the morning, and the latest it would be is...
It's an industrial area. I don't think we need to really put any type of time schedule on it, so. Seeing the board, let's see, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second it.
seconded by Vesna. You want to call the roll, please?
Mr. Gary?
Approve.
Mr. Kazanjian?
Approve?
Mr. Noon?
Approve.
Ms. McMahon? Approve. And Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Been approved with 5 votes. We need to come to the table and sign some paperwork. Thank you. I got one here. Anyway, just. We have some paperwork for you to pick up also. There's an appeal period of 20 days before you can do any work. Next, we have 408 Suffolk Street, Lowell Restaurant, to allow a restaurant use without the required parking.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Attorney Steve Panagiatakis. I represent Los Criollos Restaurant, LLC, who's proposing to put a restaurant into the area adjacent to 408 Suffolk Street. I think it's actually numbered 416 to 418. On some numbers, I think in the city's book, it might be 408. Right now, it's an urban mixed-use zoning. The restaurant, the area has been vacant for a number of years, exceeding the 2-year limitation. Was previously known as the Kentuckus Cafe and Nick's Barbershop. As you see on the plans before you, there's 3 units totaling about 2,355 square feet that the proposed restaurant will be going into. The hours of operation will be between 11 o'clock a.m. and 10 o'clock p.m. We're asking for relief from Building Ordinance 6.1.4, being the parking requirements for a restaurant use. As you know, the area has been historically a business area where there has been very little, if any, off-street parking. So this request actually does fit with the rest of the business area around there in the vicinity.
Okay, great. Is there anybody who'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Anybody in opposition? Opposition. Okay, hearing none, let's open it to the board. Go ahead, Vezza.
Thank you. Thank you, council. What I'd like to know is the number, if you have a number of table, how many tables it's going to be?
Yeah, approximately 10 tables,
How many seat per table, council?
4 to 6.
4 to 6. Do you anticipate it of getting liquor license for this as well?
No. They have not applied for one, nor have their current plans of planning to apply for one.
All right. So there doesn't seem to be any off-street parking whatsoever for the 10 table that you requested.
Right, none in the area. Most of the businesses in the area do not have it.
Yes, I noticed that as well because the location of it. So,
Right.
yeah. Thank you, council.
Yep.
Anybody else? Steve?
11 to 10, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
My only comment is that it's an establishment that I think a lot of people are familiar with. What it previously was is Kentuckus's, and I think, if you look at the neighborhood, I think it actually added to the quality of the neighborhood, and I don't think that allowing this restaurant in there would at all take away from that, so I'd be in support of this petition.
Go, Jack.
I agree with my fellow board member. I think that the previous establishment that was there had added somewhat to the character. It's been vacant. I think it'll do nothing but to enhance the neighborhood. And as the counsel for the petitioner has stated, historically there are businesses in the area and people are used to walking to those businesses. I think the fact that there isn't a liquor license, I think also will add significantly, and I would be in favor of the petition. Thank you.
Anybody else? Corey, you all
Yes,
set?
through you, Mr. Chairman. I concur with my fellow board members. Kentuckus used to be a thriving business there at one point with a good reputation, and now it's vacant. It's been vacant some time, and I can't speak for all my board members, but I know I don't like to see vacant buildings. I don't think it's good for anybody. In the regarding parking, I just think in the neighborhood there, it's off-street it's non-existent, and they largely depend on foot traffic, which I think is what's going to sustain this gentleman, and I'm all for the petition. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Okay, I also agree with the board members. As you probably know, I know the area pretty well. Hours of operation is what again?
11 to 10?
11 to 10. We'll make that a condition, 11 to 10. And no liquor, that will be a condition also. You have no liquor in the future, right? Just going to be maintained as a restaurant and that's it. Is that correct?
That's what I understand.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and I think that should do it. The place is vacant over there. It's been vacant for a number of years, and to get somebody over there and try to clean up the area, I think it'll work out pretty good. So I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve?
And the
Second.
approval conditions is, conditions were 11 to 10 o'clock at night, and,
Approve with the conditions for the hours of
and-
11 a.m. to 10
and-
p.m.
And no liquor license. Anybody
Second.
second it?
I second the motion.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Gary?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Noon?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Kazanjian?
Approval conditions.
Ms. McMahon? And Mr. Knox?
Approve with conditions.
You've been approved with 5 votes. We need to sign some paperwork before you leave.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
How long has that place been empty? 5, 6 years? Used to get a pretty good breakfast there, yeah.
Okay, next we have is Richard Guthrie, 110 Burnside Street, to construct a single family that exceeds the maximum allowed front yard setback, undersized lot with insufficient frontage on 110 Burnside Street, and to maintain an existing single family in 105 Sale Street on an undersized lot.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Before you is a variance petition with 3 parts for the property at 110 Burnside Street. Mr. Guthrie, the petitioner, is requesting to build a single-family home for his daughter's use in what is zoned as a traditional single-family area. The variance is not going to derogate from the neighborhood. This particular lot is in a neighborhood, is smack in the middle of 92 5,000 square foot building lots that have buildings on them. So it's not going to change the character of the community. It provides jobs and increases the tax base of Lowell. There are a lot of benefits to this, and Mr. Guthrie is willing to accept, reasonable conditions that the building department or this board should request. But we are asking to build on a undersized lot and to maintain the undersized lot at the adjoining property. So we have gone through the unusual step of soliciting neighbors to voice that they had no opposition to Mr. Guthrie's petition, and 50 of the neighbors who were notified in the list of abutters have signed on that they have no objection. Now, I do understand that there are a couple of people who are on the abutters list who have problems, and those problems have basically ranged from I don't want anything developed on that property to a more specific thing about traffic. And anybody who has been out on Burnside Street understands that there is not a traffic problem on Burnside Street, and we are requesting an accommodation for the driveway so that this property can be developed with attentiveness to safety. So with that, I entertain any of your questions or concerns.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody here like to speak in favor? In favor?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Richard Guthrie. I live at 105 Sale Street, Lowell, Mass. I am the owner of the property at 110 Burnside. I am here tonight to ask for a variance and a special permit to construct a single-family home on that lot for my daughter, son-in-law, and my grandson. I am also here to address the concerns of the neighbors. Excuse me. I have lived in the city all my life. I have lived in the Highlands all my life. I have lived on Sale Street for close to 30 years, paying taxes on that land as a buildable lot. The concerns I have encountered with the neighbors were congestion, a blind spot at the top of the hill, and parking. These issues vary. One was concerned about congestion, but not about the hill. The other was concerned about parking and the hill, but when I mentioned about making it a one-way street, they weren't concerned anymore. If you travel up Burnside, you won't see any cars parked on the hill. You also won't see any signs saying slow down, blind driveway, or steep hill. There are no signs that say no parking on the street or up the hill. Facing Burnside from my lot, there are no houses. The neighbors in that area have driveways across the street. Across from my lot, there is a garage with 2 parking spaces. To the left of that, there is an empty piece of land with 2 parking spaces. And to the right of that, there is another garage. If I'm allowed to build on this home, it will increase the value of the homes in the neighborhood. It will conform with all the homes in the neighborhood. I welcome input from the neighbors. This home will provide a positive impact on the neighborhood. I will not violate the integrity of the community. Part of my plan is to put a new retaining wall along the side of the property line and add a new vinyl fence. I have documentation from the immediate neighbors and the abutters that they do not object to the development of this property. I also have some plans here that would give...
Can you bring them to the board? Yeah,
Sure.
please. Anybody else like to speak in favor? In favor? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Guthrie Aylwood, and I am the daughter of Richard Guthrie. And I just came out just to give you a brief understanding. Both my husband and I are school teachers, and we are definitely, as you know, with all the budget cuts in that area of always making a certain amount of money. And we were looking for an opportunity to try to get a better environment for our son. We're currently in a townhouse. And this opportunity came up with the idea of us being able to afford a house. And so my father brought it to our attention, since he takes my son on Mondays and helps us out with daycare issues. And we thought it was just a wonderful opportunity, an opportunity that not only could we not pass up on if it should pass, but we were very grateful for the fact that we had the support and love from our family, and that it was a sense of, I want to say, value and respect and just love, that our parents would still worry about us and want to take care of us or help us even well into my 30s. So I just wanted to let you know that we look forward to you giving us this opportunity and this chance to maybe, be a part of the community that I grew up in. I've lived in Lowell for 34 years. I love the city. I would love to bring my son up in the city. I support public school systems, and I look forward to giving my child a backyard that he could play in. It could be safe, and the environment is very well tight. We know all of our neighbors. We know everybody around us, and it's just a really nice neighborhood. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to speak in favor? In favor? Hearing none. Anybody like to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Erwin Davis, and I reside at 84 Burnside Street. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to address you. My main concern and that of my neighbors is safety. Any of you gentlemen who have gone up that Burnside Street will find that it is at the brow of a hill. I have not seen the plans, but I am under the assumption that the house is going to have to be set back from the street and coming down Burnside Street.
Let me interrupt you for a minute. Do you want to come up and see the plans? Why don't you step up to the table so you can see the plans? You haven't seen any plans at all?
No, I've, a couple of them. May I?
Sure, come on up to the table here.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps this is a good time for, if anybody else is going to speak in opposition who hasn't seen the plan, for them to look
Is there
on.
anybody else like to speak in opposition? Have you seen any plans at all? No, I have not. Why don't you come up also?
As being a 44-year resident, I go up and down the street continuously. On going up the street, you have to almost to the brow of the hill before you can see any traffic coming. And I stay well to the right. Coming down the hill, I have to almost stop in front of Mr. Walsh's property in order to get a clear view down the street to see whether there are any vehicles coming up, there are any pedestrians on the street. And now that summertime is coming, I also have to be on the lookout for children riding bikes, skateboards, scooters, and I've even seen some go down the street, which is a steep hill, on rollerblades, which I think is rather dangerous. And this is one of the problems that I have. Now, if, and I point if, this petition is granted, that there is not sufficient room on the street for the tradespeople to park their vehicles. And especially if you are having excavation equipment come in, they're going to completely block the street entirely. So for the safety reasons, I'm very much against this. So one of the other things that I'm also upset to, I don't know if you gentlemen are aware of it, but in April of '97, Mr. Guthrie applied for and was granted a building permit to build on that plot. the large number of neighbors went down to city council and objected to the fact that we did not understand how Mr. Guthrie was able to obtain this particular building permit. Subsequent to that, I have a copy of a letter here from Mr. Frazier, who was then building commissioner, and he states that Mr. Guthrie does not qualify as a grandfathered in, and he also says, having merged by operation of law, two lots cannot be separated. Now, again, Mr. Guthrie is asking you to create two substandard size lots, one at 105 Sale Street and one at 110 Burnside Street. Now, I have copies of these here, if I could bring them up.
Absolutely. All set?
One other thing that has been brought to my attention by a number of the neighbors is that Mr. Walsh has been, Mr. Guthrie has been going around stating that Mr. Walsh is not in opposition, nor is he in favor of this petition, due to the lawsuit that was settled between Mr. Guthrie and Mr. Walsh. So I don't know what more I can say, except that it's the judgment of you gentlemen here is to determine whether it is feasible or not. Again, I'm pointing out to you that he is trying to create two substandard lots, and as all the other buildings running down Burnside have sufficient lot sizes, and I think he's sticking a building up in there that will be completely hidden from anyone traversing up and down Burnside Street. I also have Mr. Scanlon here, who's also in objection to it.
Okay.
Yes, good evening. My name is Jim Scanlon. I live at 25 Fairgrove Avenue. The front of our lot is on Fairgrove Avenue. The back is on Burnside Street, directly opposite from the lot on which Mr. Guthrie is requesting a variance. I have based my response on what I believe to be the best interests of the neighborhood and its residents. Let me assure you that I wish Richard Guthrie and his family the best. My wife and I have lived at 25 Fairgrove Avenue for over 30 years. Our 3 children all grew up in the neighborhood. My main concern in opposing the granting of the variance is one of safety. The undersized lot in question is located on the side of the hill on Burnside Street. There are significant blind spots both in coming down Burnside from Princeton Boulevard or in going up Burnside Street from Middlesex Street towards Princeton Boulevard. There are spots where it's difficult or impossible to see a vehicle headed in the opposite direction. Any children who would be playing near or on the street, or pedestrians walking up or down the street. In addition, there are no sidewalks. There is a significant volume of traffic using Burnside Street between Middlesex and Princeton Boulevard, and several drivers speed up this street. My wife and I do not park our car on Burnside Street, as we both believe that there is insufficient room to park safely on the street. From an environmental perspective, there is some green space on Burnside Street. However, building a house on an undersized lot would diminish that green space, make the area more congested, and take away from the neighborhood as a whole. There was a similar request for a variance approximately 9 years ago, which was denied. I'm not aware of any significant changes which would lead to a different conclusion. In summary, the granting of a variance to build on this undersized lot is not in the best interest of the neighborhood and its residents. It would make Burnside Street and the hill on Burnside Street, which are now very dangerous, even more dangerous. Thank you for your consideration of this matter.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in opposition? Hearing none. We have a few questions for Mr. Guthrie. Is there any type of easement between you and, is it Mr. Walsh, is it?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, there is an agreement, an easement for foot traffic only along that portion of the paved walkway that is adjacent to the Walsh home. But it's for foot traffic only and the maintenance of a, and there is a further easement for the maintenance of a retainer wall, which stands about 3 feet off of the property line.
So is an easement on Mr. Walsh's property for some type of retaining wall, is that what you're saying?
The retaining wall is on Mr. Guthrie's property.
Right.
And in order to provide upland support,
Yep.
Mr. Guthrie granted Mr. Walsh an easement for maintenance of that wall, if he needs to do so.
How wide's the easement?
The easement is 3 feet off of that. I have a copy of the easement for
I'm
you.
surprised it's not on this plan. Usually you have easements on a plan, so.
Well, you know, that plan is not, it's a plan that is not, we are in seeking the variances, but we are going to be submitting a plan to the building department that may be identical to that one, depending on what sort of conditions you may want to impose on us and what the building department.
When was the easement put in place?
Last year.
Okay, yes, this is an older plot plan, that's why it's not on here.
But if I can just address a couple of things on the safety issue that the objectors brought up, they seem to be more or less temporary in nature. The machinery that it's going to take and the trucks that it may take to build the home, you know, after the construction, that's going to dissipate. With regard to the green space, Mr. Guthrie doesn't even have to come before this board to put up. I can think of various things that could be put on that property, including a garage, which reduces the green space anyway. It should not be an issue for consideration by this board. And there was nothing denied Mr. Guthrie in the earlier, when he had the earlier permit. What they did was issue a cease and desist order based on Mr. Frazier's misunderstanding of Chapter 40A, Section 6 of the Mass General Laws. Mr. Sweeney of the city solicitor, he had a different opinion. He said that it was a grandfathered use. Now, if you go back, the zoning bylaw was adopted, I believe, in 1966. And when it was adopted, the two properties, the one that Mr. Guthrie's wife owns at 105 Sale Street and the one that Mr. Guthrie owns at 110 Burnside Street, were not held in common ownership. And I have brought copies of the Mass General Laws for the board to look at.
Mr. Tagg, do you have copies of the easement that I can look at? You said you had copies of the easement? Is this recorded, Mr. Tagg?
Any of the board members have any questions you want to ask while I look at this?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to know the minimum requirements in this neighborhood. Is it 10,000 square feet?
It's 10,000 square foot area, right?
Okay, thank you.
The lot pretty much conforms with the rest of the houses on the street, I think.
I'm sorry, did I give you enough copies for everyone? Sorry. I don't have, unfortunately, additional copies of these myself. But I'd like to draw your attention to the precise language of the statute, which says, any increase in area, frontage, width, yard, or depth requirements of a zoning ordinance or bylaw shall not apply to a lot for a single or two-family residential use, which at the time of recording or endorsement, whichever occurs sooner, was not held in common ownership with any adjoining land, conform to the then existing requirements, and had less than the proposed requirement, but at least 5,000 square feet of area and 50 feet of frontage. This particular lot had 5,000 square feet of area and 50 feet of frontage at the time that the zoning ordinance was adopted and endorsed in 1966, and was not held in common ownership at that time. Good call, Mr. Gary. I have attached Exhibit A right here, but I was reluctant to give it up because I don't have enough power. But it is all recorded, so you may keep that. I'll get one tomorrow.
I guess I'm referring, this is Exhibit A that tracks the easement, correct?
Yes.
I guess what I'm saying is, it's the part of the application, why relief should be granted, says see attached Exhibit A. You may not have one, it may be confused with this. I'm just wondering, is there something that I don't have?
No, I think you have everything.
Okay.
See attachment Exhibit A.
Do we have the dimensions of the easement? Did we figure that out?
It doesn't have the dimensions, it says.
I think what the attached Exhibit A was the plan.
Okay, well, thing is, we have a plot plan here without an easement. You definitely have an easement on the property. We don't know what size the easement is. It doesn't, for some reason, we can't figure it out. I would be more comfortable with probably continuing this for the next meeting, which is going to be sometime in April, to find out, get it on the plot plan, and find out what this easement is, and give the board a better feel of what's going to happen here. Do you have any idea how big this easement is, or how wide is it? Is it 10 feet off the property line, or 20 feet? Or?
It's 5 feet off the property line.
It's 5 feet?
It's 5 feet off the property line, encompassing the retaining wall only, which
and is it the whole length of the property, or?
Yes.
It is the whole length?
It's the whole length of the property.
Yeah.
As far as the retaining wall, to the edge of the retaining wall, which I think runs all the way along the property.
Well, again, I'd probably feel more comfortable with something on the plot plan. Go ahead, Vess.
I do concur with the chairman that without the correct plot plan that show the easement, I'm not going to vote on it tonight.
I have a suggestion. I mean, a lot of other applicants, they come before here, some do it and some don't, and it doesn't really matter either way, but it does help the board if part of what you submit shows us what the current zoning is and what the relief is specifically you're requesting. It just makes it easier so we know what we're voting on.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think it probably helps your position. So I agree with the chairman and vice chairman that if we saw a plot plan where the easement was delineated and we could see it and it's recorded, so it would probably require getting an updated plot plan, which if you get relief, you'll have to do anyway. So as a suggestion, maybe if you did that and then showed, what the current zoning is, what relief you're requesting specifically, it would be a lot easier as to consider the application.
I think we're going
That's something that's kind of mandatory with the board. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why this plot plan is in front of us to begin with, but usually it tells you what type of relief you're looking for. If it's 10,000 square feet and you only have 5, you're looking for relief of square footage, you're looking for relief for frontage, right down the line. So why don't we why don't we try to get a hold of the, have Mr. Guthrie get a hold of his engineer, drop a new plot plan, put the easement on there, tell him what type of reliefs he's looking for.
Mr. Guthrie's engineer is dead, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
well,
But we
well,
have no problem with engaging.
he doesn't have to use this particular engineer. I mean, all he has to do is give this plot plan a deed reference, and any engineer can pick it up, so.
We'll be happy to supplement the application.
And perhaps share it with the neighbors, maybe once they have a clearer picture of what's going on, they might, come to some sort of agreement.
I think that's useful advice. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to need a motion to continue for, what's it, April 9th meeting?
Yes, sir.
April 9th meeting?
I make a motion to continue this matter to April 9 meeting.
I second the motion.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Gary.
Vote to continue, April 9th.
Mr. Kazanjian.
Continue to April 9th.
Mr. Noon.
Continue.
Ms. McMahon. And Mr. Belanger.
Continue.
Mr. Chairman, may I just ask, at the April 9th meeting, would you want, would you accept just a straight plot plan without a development plan? We are intending to go by the
Well, you want a
dimensions
plot
of that.
plan, just what you have
But,
here, showing the easement, and also showing what type of, reliefs that you want.
Right.
Like I said, if it's 10,000 square feet and you only have 5, frontage is required to have, if it's 75 feet and you only have 50, I mean, the engineer will know what to do.
Right.
Tell him he needs a,
But not a development plan. You don't want,
tell your engineer
house shown on
he
it.
needs a plot plan for the Board of Appeals.
full plot plan.
He'll know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Okay, before
Usually
you,
put it right on the plot plan,
Yeah.
what exactly the zoning is, what the relief is requested, in a table in the bottom, so.
Understood. It's just, right now, what we submitted to you was a building plan, which, costs a little bit more than a plot plan, which is $150.
Right, you'll need the building plan anyway if you're approved.
We
So what we're
which we
saying is
will
you need
at
to-
one point, but
You gotta do the other part first, I
Right.
think, just to.
all right, we need, before you leave, we need to sign some paperwork for this petition. Next we have is Darren McDonald, 25 North Cross Street, to maintain existing addition with insufficient side yard setback.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Darren McDonald. I reside at 20 Claudine Drive, Lowell, Mass., and I am the property owner at 25 North Cross Street in the city here. I started this project several months ago with an outside contractor with the impression, upon signing a proposal, that the contractor would pull the proper permits for the structure, and he would handle everything. The job was obviously started on a Friday and completed on Sunday, in which Monday morning came, and a city official came by the property and put a stop work order on the structure. Since then, all work came to a stop until the proper variances and paperwork was submitted to
Excuse me, can you do that outside, please? Excuse me, not to interrupt. Excuse me? Continue. Yeah.
Till the proper paperwork was submitted to the zoning board, along with the plot plans. I have done so today I'm asking the board to issue the proper permit so that the construction can proceed, which only needs to be sided. It's 95% finished. Only thing that needs to be finished on the structure would be the siding, and that's how the contractor left it. He's yet to return my phone calls regarding the issue with the permit, so I have to bring it upon myself now to finish the structure. I also have a letter from my main abutter, which is Mrs. Sakarellis, which the structure is facing, and in the packet that I've enclosed to the members, it is a letter of approval, and it is signed and dated from her. Once the structure is completed, well, not only will it enhance the property, my neighbors will be a lot happier also, because right now it is unfinished, and it doesn't do nothing for the property right now with it being that way. So as it stands right now, it's pretty much an eyesore until it gets finished, and which is only siding. And I have Mrs. Sakarellis' daughter here, which her name is Anastasia, and the structure is facing her house, and she doesn't have a problem with it, and I don't think anyone else does. So I just
very
basically
good.
need a permit for it to finish it.
Okay, so in other words, you hired a contractor
Exactly.
to do the addition, and evidently he didn't pull a permit.
He never pulled the permit. That weekend that he did the job, I was away, so the job was started on a Friday, and it was finished on a Sunday. And I was under the impression when I was gone that he would take care of everything as far as coming to the city, pulling the permits. I seen all his credentials. He looked pretty liable. The way it is right now, he's never pulled the proper permits for the structure.
Okay,
It's an 8x12. It's a ranch home. It's the smallest home on the street. Everything else around me is all.
yeah, we were out there today looking at it.
Excuse me?
I said we were out there today looking at it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
Okay, is there anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? Anybody like to speak in favor? Yes, ma'am.
I am Anastasia Sakalaris, I just mentioned, and my mother is the owner of the house right next door, 29 Norcross Street, as he said that it faces. And my mother has written a letter, and I'd just like to read it, regarding the construction of addition at 25 Norcross, to whom it may concern. I am the property owner at 29 Norcross, Lowell, Mass. I approve of the construction of an addition to my neighbor's home at 25 Norcross. Sincerely, Helen Sakalaris, and that is the letter that my mother did write. I don't have a problem with it. My mother doesn't have a problem with my mother being the owner of the house. I was just curious what exactly was the problem with it. We didn't see any problem.
Okay, what's happening, you have a setback of 10-plus feet over there, and he's encroaching on the setback. So in other words, he's built too close to the property line. He's on his property, but I think he's 6.8 from the property line, where he should be a little over 12, probably about 13 feet. So he built too close to.
How close?
It's about, I'm gonna say about 5 feet off.
I believe it was 7.3.
7.3?
It's 7.3.
Well, at one point, but the other point was 6.8.
Okay, yeah, it's a slight
Yeah.
angle.
So you're like 6.8 from the property line, which you're supposed to have a sum of 25, you have 12 on the other side, so that would give you're supposed to be 13 feet. So you got about a little over 6 feet.
Because I was under the impression through the city that I was told it has to be 10 feet away from her property line, and from where it stands right now, where it's set in that angle, it's 7.3 and then 6.8.
No, you're supposed to be a sum of 25 feet.
I was told 3 different times by 3 different people,
Well,
10 feet.
Well, I have the building commissioner here, I'll ask him. Okay, all right.
How far off are you saying that it is?
It's about a little over 6 feet. The house is about 15.5, I believe, from the lot line.
15.5, right?
Yeah, 15.5 from the lot line, and on the other side is 12 feet. So you have a combination of 27 feet. You should have a sum of 25 feet. He right now has not the 25 feet, he has 12 plus 6.8, which give you like 18.8, so he's shy of that, so he's encroaching a little over 6 feet.
He's not going to go any farther than.
Oh, you can't go any further, no, absolutely not.
No.
If we approve this tonight, if this does get approved tonight, it's where it is, and it's gonna stay there.
As it stands, we don't have a problem with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And if it doesn't, I mean, if he's not gonna make it any bigger, if it's staying where it is, we don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Look,
structure's
you-
definitely not getting any bigger. The way it is right now is,
you-
it's the
You
way it's
can't
gonna
make it
stay.
any bigger than what it is, and then...
Oh, it won't be any bigger. The way it is right now is the way it's gonna stay.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else like to speak in favor? Hearing none, let's open to the board, see what they have to say. Jack, we'll start with you.
I think first the idea of leaving town without seeing that the permits were there was probably not a good one.
Excuse me?
I say the idea of leaving town while the construction is going on and not seeing permits is probably not a good one.
Yeah,
It doesn't sit particularly well with the building department, and certainly when you come before us as a result of a cease and desist. That being said, the variance doesn't seem to be that much of an encroachment. And if the neighbor who's directly across from you is in favor and there is no opposition, then I think I would be in favor of the petition.
Okay, thank you. Fezza?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do concur with my fellow board members that, having the neighbors next door to it who would have the most impact by this, encroachment, come and speak on behalf of your petition. It's helped tremendously. I don't live there. And unfortunately, it's already built. It's close to completion, as you indicated, 95%. Again, the next time I hope that you wouldn't leave town before the guy who was to build your home pull the permit, see the permit, and then maybe leave town. But I too in favor of it, considering the fact that the neighbors is here, the next door especially. Thanks to her, and I feel bad for you, but I'm in support of this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Corey.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I concur with my fellow board members. To Mr. McDonald's credit, he is an absentee owner, but the home is very well maintained. I toured the property today.
Thank you.
It seems to be up to par, and again, as the vice chairman stated, the direct abutter is the kicker on this one. They are in favor of it. You seem to have a nice family in there, doing a good job, so I have no problem with it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, Steve.
I was out there today, too, and I think that if your contractor had done what he was supposed to do procedurally and sought relief, I think it would have been granted. So it would be pretty a hard line to take to deny relief at this point, even though I don't necessarily agree that you should come and seeking permits after the structure's built. But again, like everybody else had already mentioned, the abutter that's impacted most by it has no problem with it, and it's a very small structure to begin with anyway. It seems like it just allows the family living there just a little extra breathing room, and it is well-built despite the fact that the contractor didn't do it procedurally properly, so I would have no problem supporting this.
Thank you.
Okay, Donna, you all set? Okay. Well, I agree with the rest of the board members. We have a next-door neighbor that is in favor for it, but if she wasn't, I would definitely try to deny this petition, but she's in favor for it. But so I'm going to go with the rest of my board members and go along with it and approve it. But I just want to get the message out there that if somebody thinks they're just going to build something and then later on come to the zoning board and ask for some type of sympathy, it's not going to work. So, like I said, if the neighbor was next door neighbor who this impacts immensely was against this, I would deny it and make them rip it down. But well, she's in favor for it, and she doesn't have a problem. I'm going to go with the rest of the board members, and I'm going to vote for it. Thank you. I need a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Donna. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Gary.
Approve?
Mr. Noon.
Approve.
Mr. Kazanjian.
Approved.
Ms. McMahon. Approve. And Mr. Knox.
Approve.
You've been approved with 5 votes. Before you leave, we need to sign some paperwork, and good luck. Yes, please.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we have viewpoint signs for Dunkin' Donuts, 185 Woburn Street, to allow internally illuminated signage for Dunkin' Donuts, which was originally heard on 12/11/06. Request to amend proposed signage to include internally illuminated menu board, which sign omitted from original plan. Are they here tonight?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Sean Donovan from Viewpoint Sign and Awning, located at 40 Lock Drive, Marlborough, Mass. Basically, I was here back in November to get a sign variance, and the menu board was missed. It was done in error, not intentional. Typically, these menu boards are part of the plot plan and not part of the sign program, and we just overlooked it, and we apologize for that. I have a copy of what the menu board is, a copy of the plot plan, and a copy of the original permit.
Well, why don't you bring them up here so we can take a peek at it? Okay, is there anybody here like to speak in favor? In favor? Anybody in opposition? In opposition? Okay, hearing none, let's open to the board.
I guess, can somebody clarify exactly what's, so I guess, what is different from this than we approved in December?
This was not.
It
this
wasn't
was not on
presented
the
as a
plan.
sign.
Yeah.
It was an oversight on our part
Okay.
in submitting the application.
So we approved the drive-through, but we didn't approve the sign, but we did approve
Right.
another sign that night, right?
Yeah, you approved all the other signage on the site. There was an awning, directional signs, the building signs, and a change in the pylon faces. And like I said, in most cases, and it's probably wrong thinking about it in hindsight, is we always consider those as part of the site plan for a drive-through. In most cases, drive-throughs are accepted or they're not. And the menu board is just part of that, usually on the GC's permit. In this particular case, it falls under sign because it's internally illuminated, and we missed it.
And it's a standard, I guess we're all familiar with the Dunkin' Donuts
Yeah,
drive-throughs.
standard menu board, audio system in it, and so forth.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Jack, Corey, all set? I need a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second motion?
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Gary.
Approve?
Mr. Noon.
Approve.
Mr. Kazanjian.
Approve.
Ms. McMahon. Approve. And Mr. Belanja.
Approve.
Been approved with 5 votes. Sign some paperwork before you leave. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Okay, next we have February 12th, 2007 minutes. Need a vote on those.
Vote to accept the minutes?
Anybody second?
Second motion?
Second.
Anybody in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Seconded?
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes.